Welcome back to Mo's Minute. We are back here at Golden Gate Cemetery visiting the grave of Leo Ryan. And Leo Ryan was a local Democrat politician. There is a Leo Ryan Memorial Building that's about 2 blocks over yonder. And there's a Leo Ryan Memorial Park in Foster City. And we're going to get to the reasons why there's a lot of Leo Ryan memorials here in a few minutes, I promise. So, he was born on May 5th, 1925 in Lincoln, Nebraska. His family moved around frequently. I'm not really sure why. I'm assuming his father may have been in the military. But he graduated from high school in Wisconsin before going back to Nebraska to go to Creighton, where my nephew went to school. So he got a bachelor's and a master's degree from Creighton. After he graduated, which was in 1943, 41, he joined the Navy, and he served as a submariner from 1943 to 1946. I'm not sure why he settled out here, but I feel like it might have something to do with his wife at the time, Margaret Ryan, because she was a Navy nurse at Mare Island. And Leo Ryan's original call was to be a teacher. And he was an English and history teacher at Cappuccino High School, where my other nephew goes to school. In 1961, he chaperoned the marching band trip to Washington, D.C. for President Kennedy's inauguration. And he truly felt the words of President Kennedy's inaugural address and decided to devote his career into politics instead. He was already a member of the South San Francisco City Council, but he ran for mayor and won in 1962. And then less than a year later, he won an election for the state assembly. I should mention here that he had originally run for state assembly in the 50s, but he lost. Once he decided to really set his life to politics and start local and work his way up, there was no stopping him. And he was one of those rare politicians who wanted to truly investigate things before fighting for them. In 1965, after the Watts riots in LA, he went down there to work as a substitute teacher so that he could see firsthand what was happening. Those riots were all racially motivated, so we wanted to racial motivated. Yes, they were rioting the racial actions and discrimination of the LA Police Department. So he went down there to see it for himself. In 1970, he got himself arrested, detained, and strip searched to investigate conditions at California prisons. He even spent 10 days as an inmate at the Folsom State Prison. So before he would truly fight for prison reform, he wanted to make sure that the prisons needed to be reformed. So what better way of doing that than getting yourself arrested? You know, you got to hand it to the guy. He always fought for what he believed in. That's what people always remember about him. He went to Newfoundland to make his feelings against seal hunting known. Once he joined or won, and I don't remember what year this happened, I'm sorry. Once he won the election to be a representative to Congress, he founded or co-authored the Hughes-Ryan Act, which obligates the president to inform Congress about covert CIA operations. He also made waves in Washington when he protested the lack of oversight that Congress had over the CIA, which was what started him with that bill. Oh, and then I forgot to mention that earlier when he was still in California, he passed another bill called Just the Ryan Act, I believe, that that called for an independent committee that would monitor teacher credentialing. And that was, he was a teacher originally, so that was what he wanted to make sure that the kids were getting the education that they needed. So remember, he was always someone who went into a situation to know what he was fighting for. And this comes in handy in 1978. The Washington, the State Department especially, was receiving a lot of reports of human rights violations and abuses down in Guyana. And this was at Jonestown, which was a settlement of the cult, the People's Temple, founded by Jim Jones. We will talk about Jonestown more in another episode. But there was a group of family members of people who were down there, led by San Francisco District Attorney Timothy Stone. And this group called themselves the Concerned Relatives. And they appealed to Ryan directly, and they fought tooth and nail for Washington to investigate what was going on down in Guyana. And there were a lot of local people who were down there. And the State Department, Leo Ryan was told that they were not. It took some convincing on his part, but he ultimately was able to convince Washington to let him go down there. He wanted Dan Quayle to go with him, but Dan couldn't go. So he went with Jackie Speer, who was my favorite politician, and Richard Dwyer, and a few other aides. They went down there on November 14th, 1978, and they spent 4 days down there talking to members of the cult, talking to other people around the area. It wasn't until the last day there that they were able to get inside the settlement. And there was a note passed to him that he didn't see. It was passed to somebody else. I think it was passed to Gordon Dwyer, because the person didn't recognize Leo Ryan, and instead gave it to Dwyer thinking he was Leo Ryan. And this note said, "Please get us out of here." Well, Jim Jones learned what was in the content of that note. And, I mean, it's all speculation now, but maybe if he hadn't seen that note, things would have ended differently. Who knows? At any rate, he was about to tell Washington that there wasn't anything going on down there because he didn't see anything. It was only that note that someone told him about, but didn't really press how important it was, and the fact that there were 14 people defecting with him. That was really his only clue that things down there were not all they were cracked up to be. There was also a major custody battle happening, which I'll get into later. It involves someone who grew up near my mom, so I'll get into that later. But yeah, there was a lot of information that people didn't really know at the time. So yeah, he was about to actually go back and tell Washington that, like, they didn't need to intervene. And yeah. So on November 17th, 1978, they were in Jonestown, and later that afternoon they go to leave. And with them, their delegation are 14 people defecting, and Larry Layton, who said he was defecting but lied about it. They were waiting for planes, to transport planes to get them out of there. And a few people were on the tarmac. A few people were in the plane, including Larry. Larry opened fire on the people in the plane. The members of the People's Temple who had escorted Leo Ryan and his delegation to the tarmac opened fire on them. He was shot over 20 times. And Jackie Spear was shot. And they weren't all massacred. She obviously survived, but there was, shots rang out. She was critically injured. She was left on the tarmac for hours. He was killed. And another representative of the delegation also survived. But I believe most of the people died. And at the time that this was happening, or like right after this happened, Jim Jones gave about 900 people cups of Kool-Aid that was sparked with cyanide. And that's Jonestown. Like I said, we'll get more into that later. After his death in 1983, and his daughters, he had 3 daughters, 2 of them were very, very much in favor of this happening. In 1983, he was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal as the only member of Congress to be killed in the line of duty. That is the grave of Leo Ryan, and may he rest in peace.